We're in conversation with Rajiv Memani, the Chairman and CEO of EY India. Thank you very much, sir, for talking to Money Control. Give us a sense of the overall mood this time at Davos, considering Trump has, dominated discourse with the second term in the White House. There's also a lot of discussions around AI. But what are you picking up in terms of the general mood?
Yeah, it's pretty much what you mentioned. I think the overriding conversation or point of conversation is around US President Trump and what he has said, various interactions, announcements, implications around the world, different reactions. So I think that probably is the overriding topic. I would also say that in terms of levels of optimism, this year I've seen higher than what I've seen in the last few years. And the constant conversation when we have dialogues with organizations around the world, and I would say especially US companies, the constant focus is on growth. So I think the sense of business optimism in US is much higher. And I think I would say that's one overarching agenda. The second thing is AI is always evolving and changing, and I think a lot more conversation around agentic AI and what's happening there. And also people starting to look at what are the returns, where are the returns, how are they coming. I think that's the second thing. And within the technology subset, I think for the first time crypto is becoming more talked about. Every time you have themes, and I think partly because of what's happening in the technology and partly because of what's happening with crypto as an asset class and what the US president is saying. I would say those would be the overarching conversations. Obviously conversations around supply chain, impact of supply chain and everything else is there. So I think.
Right. And what's the sense that you're getting about India, Prime Minister Modi's third term? What's the global perception about India?
See, India's perception has been very strong. I think there is, it's seen as one of the areas of global growth, and all the organizations recognize the stability in the political environment, stability in the policy framework. So I think it's been very positive. Companies, I would say, if you break and I'm giving you a more global company perspective, most of the global companies that we have met, and at least the larger ones, have a captive in India, and they're all trying to see how they can do more in that captive and how that becomes more and more pivotal to the overall organization. Insofar as the markets are concerned, I think there are organizations who have a reasonable presence in India, and I think they are experiencing growth and they want to grow. Industry by industry it varies, but I would say principally growth is there. Those who don't have a significant presence in India, I think for them to find further avenues of growth is a bit of a challenge. So I think some of them are trying to see how they would like, because historically some of them have done M&As and other things. But in this case, in India, given the valuations where they are and compared to the relative valuations that you have in India, I think the acceleration through inorganic is lesser. So those global companies who are not present in India, looking at ways and means they can enter India, I think that's been one of the things that they're always trying to see, how do they do that. And those who don't have a significant presence, if they want to really accelerate and double down, I think there's in some ways the pathways to that are not very clear. So and I think that's the constant debate. Yes, we understand the opportunity. Yes, we understand this, but then how do we get there?
Right. So also in terms of the India story, you said that, it's a bright spot and avenue of global growth. How worried are you about the weakness we are seeing in consumption, the sluggishness we are seeing, and, what can be done, particularly from a union budget perspective?
Yeah, no, I'm not worried. I mean, I think there is clearly, the macroeconomic fundamentals of India are very strong. Yes, we have had some headwinds on growth over the last 6 months relating to consumption. I think the reasons for that are known. I mean, it's whether it was the elections, whether it was the seasonalities, and also in some industries, global disruptions that happened principally because of in one of the countries, the capacity that they had created and for some of the products was disproportionate to the demand, and therefore that impacted global commodity pricing or global pricing, and that had an impact. So those things are well known. I think budget should be seen as a good opportunity to find a way that they can unleash more positive energy in the business community as well on the consumption side. And I think it's a tightrope to walk, because India is very focused on, and rightly so, on ensuring that the macroeconomic trend line is followed. So the fiscal deficit glide path that we are on, I think that should continue. So the government will really have to look at innovative ways in which they can raise capital. I think it's all known. I think the measures are known. If they can execute on that and use that money as they have done in the past to spend more on the capex side, also give some relief especially to the urban lower income, middle income side. I mean, on the rural side also it's required, but definitely it's given the impact that inflation has had and everything. If they can find some relief to be given, mainly through income tax, personal income tax rates and everything, if that can happen, and I think as what we have seen, what the US is doing right now. And I think it's going to be increasingly a trend around the world, is how do we push ease of doing business and regulation so that organizations that want to grow can accelerate their growth path. Right now, because even if organizations are looking at capex spend, I think the time it takes to get all the approvals and the time it takes to the speed gets delayed. Obviously, there are challenges on skilling and everything else that have to be addressed. So I would say that if the focus on capex focus, looking at consumption, easing up things, deregulating a bit more, trying to see how we create energy through disinvestments and or demonetization, selling off of the disinvestments, or even through the capital markets or whatever, then I think that, and if that can be done with pace, I think that is something that will really help.
Right. On that note, thank you very much, sir, for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.